Letting that dry off now. Oh, just in now. Take them off. And the goggles because I can't see what I'm at. Just wore these because wore that because I needed to not inhale a load of sawdust. I had to switch to the axe because there was too many nails. Oh, that's broken now, but fuck it. I've got plenty more. Oh. Whew. And ears up. But yeah, I know, cringy opener to a video, but reason why I just come in now from chopping loads of wood. I think it's important because I haven't come out to the shed actually in a while to make a video, and I do that as a distraction. Now it's obviously beneficial because now we've got, you know, loads of firewood for the fire, but it keeps the house warm. That's something though that I do out of insecurity. I know, weird place to start, and I know it's a cringy opener, but one thing that 81 Days of Sobriety has given me, and I'm after watching Stu from Backcountry, and now that I'm sober, I can deal with my shit a hell of a lot more, you know, and I feel bad, and I agree with them. You should feel bad, you know. I've done enough blaming and trying to go through why I am the way I am, you know. But I found an old Nintendo 3DS, and I was looking at it, you know, and we were talking about selling it and making a few bob off it, but then my brother and my mum were joking about the ones that I broke while I was having a meltdown as a kid, and you know, people talk about getting sober, they talk about stuff they did while drunk and they blame the alcohol. I don't have that. I do as well, but I don't have that luxury because that was all me, you know, and I've been trying to look up a lot of feelings of autism and guilt. A lot of people say they're affected by stuff that nobody even thinks of, which is very true for me, but I've also got plenty to feel guilty about, you know, and I think you feel guilty more about what you did than what you didn't do. In a lot of cases, you know, if I hadn't done any harm to anybody, I probably would forgive myself a lot easier for not defending somebody when I felt like I should have done, you know. Empathy was something I did have to learn, but I do have a lot of it, you know. I have it for certain people, like my mum, I have a lot of it for her. I have a lot of empathy and sympathy for what my brother went through with me, because I was bad, you know, I was really bad. When you're drinking and you're feeling guilty, you're depressed, you can't own up to it, you know, but I fucking have to own up to it because I did it, you know, and there's nobody to blame but this guy right here. You know, and I always have hated myself since I was young, you know, very young. I always had self-hatred, and that came out in aggression towards other kids. And I didn't really care about other people, you know, like it wasn't my natural instinct to defend well, in some cases it was, you know, like animals, etc. But in saying that, when I was having meltdowns and our West Highland Terrier Archie, God rest his soul, and I will definitely say a prayer for him because I loved him to bits, but he had to go through a lot as well. And I know, like, people will just say, oh, he's only a dog. No, he was more than that, and I feel very guilty about what I put him through. My dad less so because he didn't really want to know, but I looked up to him more than anybody, you know. Like, looking back, he's the one I wanted to impress, still want to impress, but I was never good enough, you know, no matter what I fucking did. And meeting up with him the other day was good, you know, in a more amicable sort of way, but he doesn't know me, and I've tried faking for him for a long time, but I wouldn't have done half the jobs I did if it wasn't to impress him and go, look what I did, Dad. Look, Dad. When in reality, I should have accepted the way I was a hell of a lot more, and that would have saved a lot of people a lot of suffering. But as it was, I put people through a lot. My temper tantrums, breaking stuff on people. Um, I was always losing my shit. I always got very angry very easily. Meant that a lot of people didn't like me, and then I didn't like myself. I had a lot of self hatred. Playing rugby or football, I'd always call people names and say, "You're fucking shit, you're useless." And then that led to me being alienated because I kind of did it to myself. People didn't like me, and they're not going to like you when you're like that. Then I thought, okay, well, maybe if I try being nice, and I try very hard now not to ever lose my temper. My family will laugh and joke at that, but I fucking do, you know. And was talking to, well, I left a comment anyway, and he responded to a Paul from Adult with Autism. He says he tries to avoid conflict at all costs, and I try that now, and I agree with him when he says there isn't much situations that can't be amicably resolved, and I would go that route now. And I think a big reason for that is because of the guilt I felt. It's just a trigger in me, It's like if I respond with aggression, I will always feel bad about what I've put people through. So people will be like, usually lads now I have to say, "Oh, you're a big fella, you should be doing this," and I'm like, no, fuck it, because losing my temper never got me anywhere with people. It only made people hate me, fucking despise me, and I guess in a lot of ways, rightly so, and I always felt like, what am I good at? There's not a whole lot that I'm good at. So I try and prove myself that I can be the handyman around the house, and I can do stuff for people around the house. Like, I can safely say, we didn't want for anything as kids. Material wise, we always had material stuff, Both our mum and our dad were good that way, so I can't ever complain about that, and I won't. I never went without food, as you can fucking tell. And I'm grateful for that, 100%, I always seem to be attracted to the wrong ones, the bad kids. I guess I wanted to be seen as a hard man and tough and macho, all that stuff. And because, like I say, when you're young and you're not defended as a kid, and this is, again, I can't fucking help myself, I'm trying to take responsibility and I still can't, but I'll hopefully get there. I'm just saying, I was very sensitive as a kid, and I had to defend myself a lot because a lot of people gave me a lot of shit, but the knock-on effect of that is I took that out on my family, and that's what makes me feel guilty. I don't really give a fuck about the kids that, hurt me or were mean to me. And cruel to me, like downright cruel, were trying to go out of their way to piss me off. I feel no guilt whatsoever about battering them. They fucking deserved it, and I wholeheartedly believe that, they saw a vulnerable kid and they picked on him. I don't feel any guilt about what I did to them at all. I feel guilt about the kids who didn't deserve it. My brother being number one. He got a lot, he got a lot of bad abuse. And we row, we fight, and sure, he's hit me as well, yeah, but I should have been a better older brother, and, I did have a lot of my own shit, but I still will never stop feeling guilty. I don't think I ever will stop feeling guilty about that, no. I wasn't there for him when he needed me, and then when I tried to, I just made things worse a lot of the times, because, I was never far away from conflict, unfortunately. That was just my personality, and actually, when you're nice to people, most people will be nice back. Funny that, isn't it? Very few people are going to treat you like shit if you're nice to them. I've learned that. That's one of the biggest life lessons. I'm only 27, but I wish I'd been nicer to people in general, especially people who were nice to me. I was a dickhead to people who never treated me badly. Were always pleasant to me, Were always nice to my mum, my brother, everybody. I just treated them like shit because I felt like shit and wanted to take my anger out on people. And I hung around with lads just because they gave me weed and smokes, They said lots of shitty things to me, and I thought, oh, but they're my mates, they're only slagging, I need to learn to take a slagging. My dad had always put me down, say you need to stop being so sensitive, be hard on yourself. And I believed every single bit of that, And I don't know who I am still, that's the really frustrating thing. I guess I want someone to tell me there's something wrong with me because I don't want to take responsibility for a lot of the things I've done. Sobriety gives you that acceptance that you can go, I fucking should feel guilty. Stu from backcountry, hit the nail on the head there when he said it. Was doing a bit of that as well. But it should hurt. It should feel bad, you know, because you fucked up. You deserve to feel bad. That's a sign of growth, I believe, and I'm hopeful that it is a sign of growth because now I can say, look, you should feel bad. You did bad things, and people can't tiptoe around you to make you feel better because you did them. You know, my mum wanted to make me happy. I know that for a fact, and I'll never stop beating myself up for all that stuff. And you know, not looking for sympathy for that. That's just how it was. And people have said, "Oh yeah, but you know, you're autistic. You had meltdowns. Things weren't easy." And you know, that's true. But there's a lot they didn't deserve that I put them through. And you know, ways I tried making it up to them. Like I used to go to the shop and I'd shoplift. You know, I'd rob stuff, bring it back home. You know, I robbed money from people before. Um, Gave it to my brother. It was like, there you go, to try and make him feel secure. It's like what my dad did with me. Give me money, and you know, I never wanted, as I say, for anything. I worked since I was young as well because I felt a sense of I have to give back. I wish I hadn't resorted to, you know, being a thief, which I did. You know, red-handed, green-handed. But I did that. I was a thief. You know, I got into trouble with the law a few times. Like, never got charged with anything. You know, I have a clean record, thank God, and was never a bad kid. Well, I was. That's a lie. Don't think I had bad intentions, you know, but the thrill I got from stealing something, you know, like stealing something from the shop, or just wanted my mum and my brother to be happy and to know that I'm sorry for all the shit that I've done. What a fucking way to do it. Wronging somebody else to make somebody else feel good. That's on me. You know, 100%. I try and be nicer now. I try to be a better person every day. That starts with not drinking alcohol. It starts by not poisoning myself, being healthy, looking after myself, being for a swim today. You know, trying to look after the household. I'm working, you know, I'm giving back to the community. I'm coaching, and I'm trying to be a better human being. You know, when things piss me off, I try not to let them get too much. I try not to let my emotions get the better of me. You know, I try very fucking hard every day. Yeah, just think back, you know, when I was a kid, and there were lots of people who had lots of different hobbies and things that they were good at, and I was never really like that, you know. I was quite a cold kid, I would say. You know, a lot of people didn't like me. A lot of older kids would pick on me, and a lot of kids my own age would try and pick on me, and then if I was physically strong enough to fight them off, which I usually was, they would get all the kids after me. You know, if there was a snowball fight, it was always me against everybody else. But maybe there was a reason for that, you know. Maybe there was a good fucking reason for that. Not a hope in hell I would have been able to own up to all this if I was drinking. As I say, I'm still trying to get better at taking responsibility and accountability for my own actions. And hopefully I'll get there, you know, hopefully. You know, I really, sometimes I'm like, you ungrateful prick, you know, you got a university degree now. You're still alive after attempting to take your own life. You got a lot to be fucking grateful for. You got a free university education. You've got a whole lot to be grateful about. I didn't lose anyone during COVID. Nobody. You know, we were moved down here. We're in a lovely house. You know, I still got my family. Life isn't that bad. Be grateful for everything you have, you know, and I mean that genuinely. I know it sounds real twee and cringy, but do be fucking grateful. You know, because it can all be taken away very soon, and I haven't just been given a second chance, a third, fourth, fifth, sixth. This channel has been a great opportunity for me to grow. I hope you'll stick with me for it. You know, over 700 subscribers now. We're on 717. I'm fucking delighted about that. You know, self-acceptance. Accepting what you've done wrong is a hard fucking thing to do. And as painful as it is, the fact that I'm able to say it now, I think, is a sign that I'm on the right fucking journey. Sobriety is helping me admit to what I did wrong and hopefully grow from it. Not being so insecure, being a better human being every fucking day. Just because one person wrongs you doesn't mean you should go out and wrong somebody else. That's kind of something that I lived by. Somebody does me a wrong deed, I'm gonna do wrong by them, and she's like, there's too many examples to single it out. But then someone who hasn't done anything wrong to me, I went and I wronged them, and they didn't deserve it, and then when they got pissed off at me, I was like, oh, this prick, why is he getting angry at me? But they were justified to get angry at me. They hadn't done anything wrong to me, and I went and I wronged them. Don't fuck with people and they won't fuck with you. Try and be a decent human being, because the world is fucking lacking in them, And that's what I'm trying to do now. Of all these wild, funny stories, but I do wish I'd been a nicer human being. I wish I'd been better earlier on, and maybe, would have had more friends. I wish I'd been more grateful for my mum and what she's been through. She made mistakes, but everybody fucking does. She deserves my absolute forgiveness for any wrongdoing, because God knows she's done more good for me than bad 10 times over. My brother too. I know, like, the mirtazapine's fucking me up in certain ways, but it's mellowing me out. I think I'm a lot easier to be around in general. I'm not as fucking agitated all the time, so Foshy, you talk about taking medication, and I agree with you in a lot of ways. Rory Byrne as well, but I think it's doing something. It's mellowing me out. At least I'm a nicer human being to be around most of the time. For the time being, I'm going to keep taking it anyway. But guys, thank you so much for sticking with me for the journey. If you get feelings of guilt, own them. I'm finally owning them and going, I can't make up for that, but I can try to be better every single fucking day. I can try and be a nicer human being. Don't go and cry about it, Admit you were wrong and be fucking better the next time, okay? That's all we can do. We can't go back. Hopefully we'll invent the fucking time machine. We can all go back and... But what will that do to the future? Remember Homer and his dad talking in The Simpsons? Don't step on anything. But yeah, stay well, guys. Forgive your family, make up with your family. Try to get along with your family. Try to be a better person each day. That's what I'm fucking doing, and I hope it'll work, One day at a time, Try and be a better human being. And I'll leave you with that, guys. Slán go fóill. Happy Monday, and I hope yous are all well. Take care.